friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie, and I did not intend to make this video. This is completely random, but I just had to come on here and tell you how much I loved this book. Sorcery and Small Magics by Maiga Doocy. I hope that is how you pronounce her name. I'm not really sure, but I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this book. I just had to come on here and tell the world about this book because it was so refreshing and so fun, and I am giving this book a 5 stars, which, if you know me, that is like virtually unheard of. I'm very picky. And especially when it comes to cozy fantasy, I did not even know that would be possible to find a cozy fantasy that I loved enough to give 5 stars, but here we are. And because it is just such a miracle that this book exists to me, I am going to tell you all about it. Sorcery and Small Magics is a cozy fantasy romance. I don't really know the distinction between romantasy and cozy fantasy with romance. I found that most cozy fantasy does have romance, but romantasy as a genre has this very kind of like epic, dark, hot, passionate connotation, whereas cozy fantasy is more like sweet and like wholesome, I guess. And I think that I would put this one more in that camp, but as we're gonna get into it, there are actual stakes and plot and tension and things in here too. So whatever category you want to put it in, the point is that this takes place in a magical fantasy world, and it does revolve around a romance. This follows 2 sorcerers in a magical, whimsical fantasy world. 2 sorcerers that are in like college. It seems like they're in college, and we have 2 very skilled sorcerers, but they are skilled in different things. One of them is very talented, bookish, works really hard, and the other one comes from a noble family, and though he does have good intentions, he can manage only small magics. They do have quite the rivalry going on though, but that all comes crashing down when they are paired together for a little bit of a class project, and it goes terribly wrong, and they end up setting off a curse that inadvertently binds them to each other. In order to undo the curse, they have to go on a perilous journey through the dark and dangerous woods to reach someone who can undo the spell for them, and along the way, they learn that perhaps they have more in common than they thought. Phew, okay, this book, oh my gosh, like I'm honestly just going to ramble about how much I loved this book. Like the premise, I just told you the premise, and obviously like it kind of seems just like, oh, you know, that's a premise that's been done before, like what's so special about that? But let me tell you, there is a lot to work with in here, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the romance. I loved the actual plot. Like it is actually a very exciting and even tense at times. It is just really well executed and so clever. I think that's a big problem for me with other cozy fantasy books and just like the cozy genre in general. Like I get that the idea of cozy is to like not have a lot of stakes and, you know, the characters aren't in danger, that kind of thing. I get that, but I've struggled with cozy fantasy in the past because I mean, I need something to latch onto, you know? I need some excitement. I need some reason to keep reading, and that is delivered here. I would still call this cozy, even though it does have a lot of really exciting and intense moments, and the characters even face some actual danger. I would still call it cozy because it's also still a romance. Like, you know that eventually they're gonna have to end up together, so nothing can really happen to them. So in that regard, I would say that like it is still cozy. But the author herself says that, well, I don't know if I would call this cozy, but maybe more just like a whimsical, magical fantasy story. So I don't know. The distinction between cozy fantasy, fantasy romance, romantasy, they all seem to have like slightly different connotations. And I think I would put this in like a cozy fantasy romance genre because the romance is very much front and center, but it's just done with so much like precision and cleverness, and it just works so well because the author really does a great job of building a plot around this you know, fan fiction romance, essentially. I don't know, I'm not saying that she wrote it from fan fiction, but I'm saying it feels like fan fiction, and that's a compliment, actually. Like, that is what I was looking for. For me, in order for something to be cozy, it still does have to have like a driving force behind it, and that is where I think this book really, really works. The curse that ends up kind of like forcing them on their journey is really clever. The magic system is really creative and interesting. Like, it's actually a full-blown magic system in here. It's not just like magic exists. Like, it does have working parameters, and it makes it very, very fun. It's so crazy because this book is actually genuinely like, it could have been pulled from my brain. Like designed in a lab for me. This is exactly what I was looking for, because I have been in the mood for like kind of something like light, dark academia, fantasy, cozy with a romance. But so many of those things go so wrong for me so many times. So to find one that gets it so right, it's just, it's actually miraculous that this exists. I will note on the romance that a lot of people on Goodreads did say that this is a slow burn romance, and it's interesting because I don't love romance as a genre. I don't read a ton of it, but I would say that, like, yes, this is slow burn, but also it's the correct pace of how I like a romance to be, but with a big clarification there that this is actually going to be a trilogy. So if you really are not going to be able to handle not being able to know what happens next, or not being able to continue or feel satisfied by that storyline, you might have to wait for all three of them to come out, even though this came out in October of 2024, so we might have to wait. I'm dying for the second one. I really am. But in my opinion, like, I don't think this is like, I think this is like an average burn story. But I guess if you are a regular romance reader, this is probably going to be a little bit slower burn than you're expecting. But see, like, I come from fandoms where ships don't even end up canon, so like, this is not slow burn to me. This is just like a regular, nice, fun pace for romance. This book fixes so many problems that I have with the cozy fantasy romance genre in general. Two of them being poor writing that is usually just all over the genre, and also just boring plot. This book fixes those problems. For one, the writing style, it's much more my personal taste. I love it. It's nothing crazy, but it is a little bit more exciting than the regular contemporary bland voice that we tend to get in the cozy fantasy genre. Sorry to say, it is bland. This one does step it up quite a bit in that department, but it doesn't go crazy. You know, it's just different enough, and it's refreshing enough. And it's definitely what I'm looking for. And then as far as the plot goes, like, this is not boring at all. It really moves. The pace is really well done. There's action when we need something big, and then there's a lot of breathing room in the slow moments that get to build this relationship. And I was eating it all up. I loved it so much. I devoured this book. Like, I read the first 100 pages in one sitting, and then I was just thinking, I was like, I have to get back to my book, and I read the entire rest of the book in one single sitting. It did take me like 4 or 5 hours, but I could not put this book down, which that's really saying something, because I have been in a reading slump since February. So this is really the first book that made me like just want to keep reading. And then I was really sad. I was sad when it was over because I didn't have any more. And now I am like clamoring for the second one to come out as soon as possible. If you are a fan of cozy fantasy, I think you're gonna love this. If you're not a fan of cozy fantasy, but you wanna be like me, like, you keep picking them up because you want to love them and you feel like, that atmosphere sounds amazing, it sounds so much fun, but you consistently feel let down by them, I mean, you have to try this one, because this one really fixes all the problems that I have with cozy fantasy. I was so floored by this book. I honestly love it so much. I can't wait to get my hands on books 2 and 3. Who knows when they're ever going to come out, but it's so nice that the author said before this one was even published that it was going to be a trilogy. So this really makes me feel like she has the rest of the story already planned out, which is so exciting because she did such a good job with the plotting in this one. I need to rave about this book because it's been so long since I found a book that I really genuinely loved and had so much fun with and just felt this joy of reading again. And this is just exactly the kind of like cozy, escapist, like cute romance book. Like, it was just fantastic. That this is what I was looking for, and I have to tell everyone about it because it is not often that I feel so just like overwhelmingly happy about a book. Honestly, it's hard for me to love a book so much. So this is like very, very well done. And you know, at the end of the day, of course, like it's, you know, it's still gonna be a cozy fantasy romance. So, you know, still go in with those expectations. But this is absolutely a genre highlight for me. There you go. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments, are you going to pick this up because of my review? Honestly, I want everyone to read this book. I think it is so much fun. I think it deserves so much more attention. And if you are looking for something fun, escapist, light, fluffy, but also really well done and moving and emotional and really fun, you should pick this up. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, week, month, and year. And I will see you back here next time. Thanks so much. Bye.